Yo, guys, I thought this was a hilarious reflection of California's trigger warning culture and how far it's going. Little bonus video for you guys, man. California cannot stop reducing its citizens' psychological resilience by constantly promoting through this empathy language, the constant further intervention of government into like the cultural dialogue, right? And it's pretty wild, man. And I got an article here to show you guys what California is doing. And then I got an article to show you how even in the center of LA, they're starting to feel like this is going too far and someone needs to change things, guys. California to consider requiring mental health warnings on social media sites. Yo, guys, I always forget to do this. Please, if you don't mind, like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It would help me out, guys. Sacramento, California, home to some of the largest technology companies in the world, would be first U.S. state to require mental health warning labels on social media sites if lawmakers pass a bill introduced Monday. The legislation, sponsored by State Attorney General Rob Bonta, is necessary to bolster safety for its children, online supporters say. But industry officials now vow to fight the measure and others like it under the First Amendment. Warning labels for social media gained swift bipartisan support from dozens of attorney generals, including Bonta, after U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy called on Congress to establish the requirements earlier this year, saying social media is contributing factor in the mental health crisis among young people. It's not. They're not wrong, is what I'm saying. They're not wrong about that. But in my opinion, where that comes from is education. Look, those types of warning labels and everything is a Band-Aid on the fact that if you need to put a warning label on something like that, you've already failed to educate the individual on the environment that they're in and that they're exposed to, right? That warning label is a Band-Aid on individual naivete, and you should be educating that out of people early, beforehand, proactively, in my opinion. These companies know the harmful impact of their products can have on our children, and they refuse to take meaningful steps to make them safer. Bonta said at a news conference on Monday, "The time is up. It's time we stepped in and demanded a change." State officials haven't provided details on the bill, but Bonta said the warning labels could pop up once weekly. Interesting that it's timed instead of just when the website loads. Up to 95% of youth ages 13 to 17 said they use a social media platform, and more than a third say that they have used social media almost constantly, according to 2022 data from the Pew Research Center. Parent concerns prompted Australia to pass the world's first law banning social media for children under 16 in November. Dude, I'm not even entirely against that. I'm not even entirely against that, because it's like, I know it's crazy. I know people are saying from a conservative perspective that's anti-free speech, this, that, and the third. Yo, just banning minors accessing it. Minors can't access liquor. Minors can't access, these algorithms are so dangerous. We saw just in the last segment how character.ai and these algorithms can take advantage of young kids' brains and minds, so I'm not even entirely against that in that specific instance. Now, I think that there should be more conversations about how that can respect the values of classical liberalism, but I definitely think there should be more conversations around that type of thing for sure, to give kids the opportunity to be educated before they're exposed to that type of mind engaging and attention desiring content, right? The promise of social media, although real, has turned into a situation where they're turning our children's attention into a commodity. Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The Assembly member Rebecca Bauer-Khan who authored the California bill, said Monday, the attention economy is using our children and their well-being to make money for these California companies and the whole, and they've been doing this for a long time. Target the kids to make money off the parents all a long time. And now they just have an even deeper level of access into those kids' minds. And it's not cool, man. Lawmakers instead should focus on online safety and education and mental health resources, not the warning label bills that are constitutionally unsound. I do agree with that as well. Todd Boyle, vice president of the Tech Industry Policy Group at Chamber of Progress. We should focus on proactive education, right? These things where the warning labels and all this stuff, and then the pre-bunking, where they talk about they want media to pre-bunk what they consider to be mis and disinformation. Yo, tell people how to engage in research. Tell people how to recognize and spot propaganda. On my website, how to spot propaganda and navigating biased narratives, right? So navigating media narratives and then how to spot propaganda on my website. Check it out, guys. You should tell people how and the tools that you need to recognize this stuff. You shouldn't tell people what and how to think, okay? Victoria Hinks' 16-year-old daughter Alexandra died by blank 4 months ago after being led down dark rabbit holes on social media that glamorized eating disorders and self-harm. Whoa, man. Yeah, dude, just like these chatbots. Hinks said the label would help protect children from companies that turn a blind eye to the harm caused by children's mental health and they become addicted to social media platforms. No, they're not. Dude, these kids are just going to blow right past that warning label and ignore it. These band-aids don't do anything. How about you have some level of education that helps a child psychologically understand themselves from an early age? My article on an alternative education system, guys, check that out. How about we educate kids on the nature of their own psychology and how to understand and categorize and place their own feelings from a very, very early age? I think that's the best way to do it. I don't think warning labels are the way to do it. There's not a bone in my body that doubts social media played a role in leading to her final irreversible decision. This could be your story. Common Sense Media, sponsor of the bill, said it plans to lobby for similar proposals in other states. California, in past decade, has also positioned itself as a leader in regulating and fighting the tech industry to bolster online safety for children. Yo, they know that conservatives and Democrats alike care about children's safety. And so when you've got government being attempting to gain more power over the cultural zeitgeist, they're going to use children and the language of empathy to do it. That's why, in my opinion, that's why we see so many things pop off in schools, okay? Especially when you look at the connection that some of these people who get real dangerous in schools are, and the connection they have to Fed-run chat rooms and all this stuff, and the feds that send them equipment to do it and all this stuff, man. They use kids to manipulate us, to get us to agree to give them more power. Seriously. The state was the first to bar online platforms from using users' personal information in ways that could harm children. It was one of the states that sued Meta in 2023, TikTok in October, for deliberately designing active features that keep kids hooked on their platforms. Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, also signed several bills in September to help curb the effects of social media on children, including one to prohibit social platforms from knowingly providing addictive feeds to children without parental consent, and one to limit or ban studies from using smartphones on school campus. They should look. It shouldn't just be kids that can turn off the algorithm feed. It should be everybody. Okay, stop trying to get in people's heads, man. That's not your right. Federal lawmakers have held hearings on online safety and legislation in the works to force companies to take reasonable steps to prevent harm. Look, man, the legislation has the support of ex-owner Elon Musk and the president-elect's son, Donald Trump Jr. Still, the last federal law aimed at protecting children online was enacted in 1998, 6 years before Facebook's founding. Look, guys, Band-Aids are not the way to do it. And this stupid, we're going to use the language of empathy to constantly give government more power. Yo, patience and education. Patience and education, and the culture will follow, okay? Educate the kids and be patient, and then those children that you've educated will redefine the culture moving into the future. So, guys, that's not the way to do it. Constant bannings and trigger warnings and oh, man, it's not your responsibility to maintain psychological resilience. It's everybody else's responsibility to make sure you're never bothered by anything. That is not the way to go about our society, guys, and it's even tearing LA apart. And I'm going to read this to you right now because LA agrees. Warning, this editorial may upset you. Trigger warning policies like the one proposed at UC Santa Barbara are antithetical to college life. The latest attack on academic freedom comes not from government authorities or corporate pressure, but from students. At UC Santa Barbara, the Student Senate recently passed a resolution that calls for mandatory trigger warnings, cautions from professors to be added to their course syllabi specifying which days lectures will include readings or films discussing things that might trigger feelings of emotional or physical distress. The resolution calls for warnings if course material will involve depictions and discussions of blank, 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 or blank. Among other things, the professor would excuse students from those classes with no points deducted if students felt the material would distress them, or it is left unclear how students would complete assignments or answer test questions based on work covered in those classes. No, look, they don't have to do that, guys, okay? It's not their job to make sure that they're emotionally okay. It's your job. And if they're in distress, you need to do something about it. Okay. Yo, I got an article that came out yesterday about the healthy relationship emotions play with your ego and how emotions are work to define context for situations, right? Essentially, emotions, a lot of the emotions you're referring to here when we talk about trigger warnings, fight or flight, are there to help you understand whether you're behind enemy lines or not. And that assists your ego in assigning context to the experience that you're having, right? So I got an article called Ego, and I got an article on a call something to do with emotions. I forget the title. Yeah, it was just yesterday, man. Shoot. Just control F emotions, all right? And then you'll see it in there. But no, man, it's all about how your emotions help you assign context. The ego is a tool for assigning context in a situation. It helps you define how you relate to your environment. And so, guys, I just wanted to read this to you because it's like even LA is done with the trigger warnings, guys. Man, it's getting crazy. It's getting to go too far. Even in the heart of California's culture center, LA, they can't take it anymore, guys. So, I just thought it was a hilarious laugh. Little last segment of the day. Keep it short for you guys. I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.